Are you someone who is trying to make a difference in the world with your message, but finding yourself feeling as if you're selling your soul? Well, today's show is all for you. All right, good morning, everybody. This is Wake Up Well. Today we are talking about how to sell yourself without selling your soul. So I brought in an expert to help with this today. We're going to have a little conversation about that. Her name is Marni Blythe. She is the CEO of Full Pocket Coaching. She is a management consultant and a business coach, and she helps entrepreneurs like me, like you, to make more money. Who doesn't like more money? Right, Marni? Who doesn't like more money?
We love money, especially when it helps other people.
Exactly. So, this is Well World TV, and here at Well World, we're all about sharing a positive, uplifting, inspiring message. We're all about health and wellness and helping you live your best life. A lot of us here are coaches and wellness professionals, massage therapists, Reiki masters. And so part of being in this business of, I always say, like, I work for the universe, that job comes with a part of you where it can oftentimes feel inauthentic or downright scary sometimes to ask for money, right? Absolutely. Do you understand what I'm saying?
100%.
I like to say it as, you don't pay me for my knowledge or my wisdom, you pay me for my time. So what do you think of that?
Well, first of all, Laura, I love you, and I have loved watching your channel, and I love the opportunity to be here with you. I think I look at it a little bit differently.
Okay, that's okay.
A little bit of a different perspective, because I feel like people are actually, when they pay me, they invest in me, which is something I want to talk about, because there's a difference between investment and expense. And that's a big, big, big thing here. But I believe that people actually, when they invest, are investing with me because I'm the consummate of my time, the education that I've had. It's the experiences that I've had. It's the certifications that I've had. It's the work and experience with other clients. So I believe that you're paying me for both my time and the consummate of all of those things, if that makes sense.
That actually makes 100% sense, Marni. And you just shifted my perspective just in that little bit, because I think it comes from working in entertainment and being an employee. I said this to someone the other day. I said, you got to shift out of I'm an employee mindset to I am the boss mindset, right?
Yes, I love that. Yes, yes, yes. I love that. And it's not, let me just also say, it's not necessarily about having the certification or the schooling. It's experience, right? And somebody's paying you because you've been there, you've done it, you've worked with somebody else, you've worked out the kinks, and now what you're able to do for somebody is take their learning curve from here to here. And that has value. That's important. That's something that people should be wanting to invest in. That's a really big deal. So if I was in some way able to help you shift and other people to help shift, that to understand that you have so much value in the world and you deserve to be paid for that and be paid well. It's your birthright. That's a part of why we're here, in my opinion.
Well, I know you've heard this before, and that is, if you are someone who is sort of in that spiritual awakening, that if you are asking for money, you're not spiritual. Yeah. And I don't think that's true. I will say I don't believe that, because I believe that the universe, and I know that wants us all to be abundant and prosperous. If we could all shift our mindset out of scarcity and get into a mindset of abundance, we all could be abundant, but we're all learning different things at different levels.
100%. And so the other thing I kind of want to talk about is the fact that it has a lot to do with the programming, right? When I talk about the programming, I'm talking about how you were raised. So for me, coming up, I grew up in a town in New Jersey. I had two wonderful parents, but we really grew up believing that money did not grow on trees. We grew up with a scarcity mindset. And so I lived in fear of never having enough money for a long time. I mean, I remember being crippled by the fear until I was probably in my late 20s, early 30s, and blessedly I'm now at my 40th birthday, and I feel like I finally am at a place now, and it's only developed over the last maybe 5 to 7 years where I started to shift that. And there were some really powerful healers that I have really tapped into, like Marianne Williamson, Edwene Gaines, and some other people who really kind of have set an amazing foundation when it comes to understanding how to create prosperity. And that when it comes to prosperity and abundance, it's more than just financial. And that's the other thing. Having an abundant life, a prosperous life, the actual exchange of money is one piece of that. And it's a huge piece, but it's one piece of that. And so I understand where you're coming from, and I understand where you're coming from out there, because it's taken a long time for me to be able to shift my mindset. So I understand. I've been there.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring that up about the energy, because that's what is written in my books about money is just energy. And in order for energy to flow, you actually have to move it. So all those people who hold back from giving are being held back from receiving. So that's, I think, one of the hardest concepts, because you can look back on your life and say, oh, well, I spent all this money on this and the universe didn't bring it back to me there. It's like, well, then it goes back to part 2 of that, which is exactly what you said, that you have to move the money, but you have to have the mindset that the money is going to flow back to you, and that it is that give and receive flow that keeps going. And I think that's where people get hung up.
I think a lot of this comes from the belief in yourself and your self-esteem, right? And I think that when you believe in the work that you do, when you believe that the work that you do has value and that you're in a category of one, and if you don't believe that there's any competition out there and that the only person that you need to do better for is you, then a lot of the other comparison syndrome, the other things that can sometimes really plague us will go away. Because then you realize that you provide value for the people that you provide value to, and that there's an abundance of people out there that need you, that need your services, that need your help, and that there's plenty for everybody. There truly is. We live in an abundant world. So that's some of the mindset work that we do have to sometimes do with people to help them to be open to that. And then the other thing that I think is important to address is that the law of attraction doesn't work on its own. I always like to tell the story, and I actually talked to Deborah Kerner here at Well World TV, our wonderful friend, about this little story, which is of the man who is in his home, and people come to tell him that this horrible flood is coming, and he says, I'm going to be just fine. I'm going to be just fine. And so the flood waters keep rising and rising, and then finally, he gets on the roof, and the water's above his house, and he says to God, or the universe, I don't understand. Why didn't you come save me? And he says, well, I sent the people, I sent the boat, I sent the helicopter, you got to take action, So that's the biggest thing here, is that, if you just spend, but you don't take action, then of course you're not going to get the money back. So you have to, when you spend, you have to spend wisely. And there's a difference between investment and expense. If I'm investing in, say, a certification or an education to increase my skill set, that's an investment, right? If I'm hiring a coach, or I'm buying your book, Laura, that's an investment. If I'm going and just buying a new car to just buy a new car, that's an expense. There's a difference between the two.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think maybe Wayne Dyer had told that story about the flood waters. And I think that's so true.
From.
Yeah. And I just laugh at that. And it's so true. And it comes back to belief. So if you believed that you could get rescued truly 100% without any doubt whatsoever, then yes, something could come and rescue you. But also you miss your signs and message. You miss them. So the boat goes by and you're like, no, I'm good. And God's like, yo, I just sent you a boat. Like, hello. And we just let him go by. And then, the fire truck says, nope, no. Oh, universe, God's got me. I'm good. And it's like, but we gave you the tools. Like, there's a chapter in my book called God Can't Fix the Toilet. It's the last chapter of my second book. And I think it's the funniest title. And I was having problems with my toilet acting wonky. So I went on YouTube and I kept trying to fix it. And I kept trying to figure out how to get it to work. But I kept hearing, call a plumber, call a plumber. And then I was ignoring that spirit voice that was just like, just call a plumber. So I sat down at 2 a.m. to write that chapter in my book. And I was like, but I don't understand. Like, you say, call on spirit, call on universe, call on God for help. And, I didn't get any help. And then my book, in the answer, because it's got Q&A, it was like, well, why didn't you just call a plumber? We kept telling you, call a plumber. I'm like, well, plumbers cost money. I'm like, wait, okay. So yeah, there was fear there. Like, I don't want to spend money that I don't need to spend. So I'm going to go on YouTube and try to fix it all myself. But then sure enough, the answer on my book was God can't fix the toilet, because God doesn't have physical hands, right? The universe doesn't have hands to come and actually fix your toilet. But they can send you exactly who you need when you need them at the right time. And that's kind of a missing link that people don't understand, is that things don't come as physical all the time. They'll come through your own thoughts. They'll come as signs and messages. They'll come with the right thing. But we have to be open and paying attention to what the universe is offering to us. And we don't.
I love that, and I can't wait to read your book, Laura, because that in and of itself is the total hook for me. I think that's brilliant. And what I just also wanted to say is, so right, there's a difference between our thinking mind, right, and then our heart space, right? And when something comes from the thinking mind versus, that intuitive push that we're receiving. So yes, you have to listen to that intuitive part of yourself and not the ego voice or the thinking mind. And then the other thing that I always talk to my clients about is to think about how much time it's going to cost you in order to fix the problem, or in order to get the house clean, or to mow the lawn. And what I usually say to people is to think about how much your time is actually worth. Like if you were billing that time out, like let's say you make $100 an hour, and then you decide it's a good idea to go and spend 7 hours fixing your toilet instead of spending the $150 to hire the plumber. Now, if I were to tell you it would cost you $700 of your time to hire the plumber, or it would just be $150, you might look at things a little differently. So for me, I always say, if you're in a position to do it, hire the cleaning lady, hire somebody to help you mow the lawn, hire out and leverage and delegate, so that way you have more time to be able to bill for your hourly, or to be able to do what you need to do, because you'll make more money that way.
And it also goes back to, what does it feel like to spend the money? Because that's that mindset shift. Like if you're giving money to somebody to help you clean or to help you do something, and you're keeping the flow for their business, it feels good. Be like, oh, okay, I'm going to give this money. I'm happily give this money, rather than, oh, I got to call the plumber and they're going to scam me for money. Like it's all that energy that I was putting on it.
Absolutely. And it's funny. I don't know. Have you ever heard of Edwene Gaines before?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So probably close to 10 years ago, I had the opportunity to see her speak. And that was a time in my life where I had just moved here to North Carolina from New York City. I didn't really have much of anything. I had left a marriage. I literally took the clothes, my shoes, my handbags, and my jewelry, and I came and I moved down here to North Carolina, and I moved here on faith. Intuitively, I felt like my time in New York City was done, and that I kind of needed to start a new chapter. And so I moved here. I was a part of this wonderful spiritual community called Journeys, and Edwene Gaines came to speak. And I got the sense that it would be great for me to pull out her book. And so I just wanted to just kind of share it with you if I could. And I remember she actually inscribed it for me. And if it's okay, I just wanted to read a quick quote, because it really resonated for me, and perhaps it'll resonate for you guys. And she said, "Money is like love. The more you give away, the more you have. Love is a limitless resource, and so is money. And both were created by God to enrich our lives and allow us to live fully, joyfully, and completely. And you're going to discover the truth of the law of compensation, that you cannot outgive God." Emerson said that you cannot outgive God, and he was absolutely correct. And I just wanted to share that because it changed me. It started to fundamentally change me when I started to tithe, and when I started to shift my attitude towards how I invest my money, and the joy that I get actually when I write out the bills, or when I send off the payment, and I say thank you for the heat, thank you for the electric, thank you for the lady who comes to help me clean my house so that I have more time to serve my clients. And so it's with gratitude, right? And we say that it's with gratitude that everything changes. So I think that was a big shift for me.
This work is daily work. It's not just like, boom, shift your mindset and everything's fabulous. It's like, it is a constant thing that you have to work on and shift that mindset. So the name of our show was Sell Yourself Without Selling Your Soul. I didn't know we were going to be talking about toilets in it, but hey, that's
you never know what's going to happen.
You never know what's going to happen on Wake Up Well. Okay, so sell yourself without selling your soul. Tell me some things that you think people could be doing to sell themselves in a way that feels good. It feels prosperous.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I do a lot of sales training with my clients. And one of the things that I love to do is tell a story about when I first did move here to Raleigh, North Carolina, and I went to buy some new furniture. And I went to go buy a new mattress. And at the time, I didn't really know a whole lot about mattresses. And so the gentleman who helped me, his name was Dave. It was at Rooms to Go. And he asked me so many questions about how I slept and how did I sleep with, next to my now ex-husband, but all those things, right? And he was so professional and he answered my questions and he was so helpful. And at the end, I said to him, gosh, I hope this doesn't sound bad, but you're the best salesperson ever. And I didn't want to offend him, and at the time I looked at sales differently. And he said something to me that really changed my perspective. And he said, Marni, the best compliment you could give me is to tell me that I'm a great professional salesperson, because you see, there's a difference between being like a used car salesman and you're trying to sell somebody something they don't need, and being a professional salesperson. Because here's the thing, you can never sell something to somebody that they don't actually need. And your job as a great salesperson is to ask great questions and to find out if what you have actually will serve that person. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, you bless them and send them on their way. You refer them to somebody else, because you live in an abundant world. So when you come into sales from a place of authenticity and from just wanting to serve others and releasing the outcome, which can be really difficult, particularly when you're in the beginning of your journey and you're just trying to pay the bills. But if you can have faith, and faith is the thing here, and that it's a numbers game. The more people you speak to, the more opportunity that you're going to have to make sure that you could potentially sell that to that person. But being a professional salesperson is about asking great questions and then seeing if what you have meets their needs.
I think that first thing you said makes so much sense about you're not selling something that people don't need. Like, especially if you are a wellness professional and you're a healer, you're a health coach, all of the things people who are those solopreneurs right now, it's that people need this in the world. We need to be healthier. We need to awaken. We need to be happier, right? We need to be more abundant. So you are offering something that everybody needs. And that, like, again, you just gave me a little shift. You're shifting me, Marni, right?
Oh, it's a blessing. I'm so glad. Well,
and I think it goes back to, like, we all can help one another. We're all here to heal one another. So yes, okay, I've written 4 books as a channel and a medium, but you know what? I learn something from somebody every time I talk to them. That's why I do the show, and that's why I have experts on most of the time, because I may be an expert in one thing, but you guys are experts in other things, and we can all help one another. And I think that's so important.
That's what it's all about here. We're really just about helping each other to remember who we are at our core, right?
Yep.
And that's really what I think about it as, is to remember where you came from. And you came from abundance. You came from prosperity. Again, it's the programming that makes you think that we're separate. It's the programming that makes you believe that you're not enough. It's the programming that makes you think that you're in competition. You're not.
Yeah.
You are important. You have worth. People want to buy what you're selling. You have to believe first and foremost in who you are and what you do, because without that, nobody else is going to want to buy it. So the first thing, Laura, that I would say, if you want to sell without being salesy, you got to do your own work. And that's the practice, right? And it is a moment to moment, hour to hour, day-to-day thing where if you don't feel like you're enough, I want you to go within, go find yourself an amazing coach, go read Laura's books, go find resources, Laura's website, everything that's out there, Well World TV. There's so much out there that can help you to make those shifts. That is everything that will launch you into that next level of success. But it truly begins with you and your vulnerability, right? Being able to be out there. I love me some Brene Brown. So being out there and being vulnerable with boundaries, with healthy boundaries, is really what begins this whole process of being able to sell yourself and people seeing your light in your heart.
Yeah, and this morning I was in the shower, which is where I get all my, great inspiration for things that I do and I write. And I was thinking about writing a blog about the 10 laws to follow right now of the universe. And the number one was to know that the only person who can heal is yourself. So even if you are a coach, even if you are a Reiki master, even if you are a business coach, ultimately it comes down to choice. Life is choice. That's rule number 2. And you get to choose how you want to move through it. And if you want to shift that mindset, so you can take what somebody like you says and let it change you at your core, or you can be like, nah, what do these girls know? You know what I mean? And so it really is those two things. Like, you have to be the one who shifts. You have to be the one who pays attention and goes, wow, okay, there's something different. There's a different way to be. And we are all here to learn how to be, right?
100%.
Just to be. So,
yeah.
Okay. So if people want to work with you in management consultant, business coaching, learn how to make money and be and feel and think prosperous, tell people where they can find you.
Thank you so much, Laura. Yes, so you can find me at fullpocketcoaching.com. That's my website. You can also find me on Facebook at Full Pocket Coaching, YouTube, LinkedIn, either Marni, Blythe, or Full Pocket Coaching. And I do offer a complimentary 30-minute consultation, an opportunity to get to know one another. You can tell me what's going on with you, and I'd be happy to see how we might be able to work together.
Well, thank you. This was great, and I love it. I love seeing your beautiful face all the time. And I know we'll have much more to talk about in other things, in other places, retreats, seminars, and all of that good stuff, bringing that great prosperity to us. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Marni. Thank you for watching Wake Up Well, and I will see you guys right back here next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Bye.
Bye.